I'm Clifton Donegal, and I'm an instructor here at the College of Carpenters and Allied Trades. Today, I'm going to show you the articulated work platform behind me. Today, I'm going to show you the daily inspection routine, which includes the pre-operational function tests. On the job site, this machine is indispensable. I love it. It's always intimidating the first time, but the more you use it, the more you appreciate it. This particular machine, the SJ63AJ, will take you up 63 feet. But before we do that, let's do our pre-operational inspection. It all starts at the front of the machine, where we will look at our operator's manual. So we always have to check the manual to make sure that the model number on the manual is for this particular machine. And now we're going to check the physical condition of the machine and make sure that everything is safe. So first we're going to inspect the platform, and what we're inspecting on the platform are the gates, making sure that the gates are good. We're checking the handrail. We're checking to make sure that there are no excessive rust or dents or damage that could impact the safety of the machine. So we're checking, making sure that all our handrail, and in particular, we need to check also our anchor points, which are where we tie off when we're operating the machine. Also, we are going to check our labels, so the explanation for all of these will be in your operator's manual. So we're checking our handrails, making sure that they work, our gates, right? We check the wells, we check the screws, make sure that everything is in good condition, right? We check our anchor point, and we make sure that the wells are good and it's in good condition. We're gonna check also our outlet, our AC outlet. This supplies power to any power tools that you will be using here. So if you're going to use it, ensure that the GFCI breaker actually works. Checking our cables, making sure that our wire harness is good and our wires are in good condition. Our actuator is good, right? No leaks, right? Check our pins, our locking pins, and of course, we want to make sure that our jacks are in good condition again, and no leaks. So we're checking our pins. This here is the power track, and this holds the cables and hoses as the boom extends. It keeps it in order. You want to make sure that there's no damage to it. You want to make sure that everything is looking good. Okay, we come over here, we're checking our wells, no cracks, no rust. We're checking our pins and our locking pins, making sure that they're in place. Our jacks, we inspect them. Again, we have points where we check for leaks. We come over here and we can check our oscillating cylinder, making sure that there are no leaks, and of course our tie rod, making sure that it's not loose. For the wheels, we check the tires, making sure that they're in good condition, and of course we check all the lugs to make sure that there are no loose lug nuts. We also would want to check to see if this is air filled or foam filled, simply because we want to make sure that we check the air pressure when we're ready to operate. So the next thing we're going to look at is in the engine compartment. So let's open this up and look at our engine. So let's start with the battery. We look at the terminal, make sure there are no corrosion. We check just to make sure that the main power disconnect switch is on. What we're checking the main pump for are leaks, hydraulic leaks. So we typically look under the hose. We don't wrench, we don't touch, we just look visually to see that there are no leaks. We check the wire harnesses, make sure that there's nothing looking out of the ordinary. We check our exhaust, make sure that it's okay. Check our coolant level. The next thing we're gonna check is our oil level. We just pull the dipstick out, clean it off. Just like your car, you just check, make sure that the level is good and we're okay. So everything looks fine. Next thing we're going to check is basically the condition of our air filter. We're just going to look to make sure that physically the container is okay. There's also an indicator for this one that will tell you when the filter needs changing. So we just check that indicator. It is good so far, so we leave it. As far as the engine compartment is concerned, that's what we need. So no leaks, all our fluid levels are okay, and we're done on this side. So the next thing we're gonna check is our propane tank. We wanna make sure that it's secure, and also we wanna just make sure that there are no leaks. If this leaks, you will actually smell it. You wanna make sure that it is secure. As we go around, checking all our lug nuts, checking the condition of the tires, and of course, we go around. We're checking our axle. Make sure that all these bolts that hold the axle onto the chassis is okay. This here is your counterweight, and you're also going to check to make sure that your pins are in place, your locking pins are locking them in place. We also have boom wear pads that will actually prevent metal-to-metal contact of the boom with the chassis. So we come here, we check to make sure that our bolts are tight, that's holding the axle. We're checking the condition of the tire, making sure that it's really in good condition. And of course, check all the lug nuts, making sure that they're present and tight. The next thing we're gonna look at is our hydraulic compartment. So within this compartment, we have the hydraulic tank, we have the brake manifold, we have the main manifold, we have the base control console, and of course we have the fuel tank. This is actually a dual fuel machine where you can use gas or propane. We're going to check the level of the hydraulic fluid. This must be checked while the machine is in its stowed state. That means all the jacks will be in their closed position. This here is a brake manifold, and it reduces the pressure on the brake so that if they're going to tow the machine, they can pull it. These are your main manifold. When you hit one of these buttons, it basically sends a signal to a solenoid switch that actually sends the fluid wherever it needs to go. So what we're checking for this is we're checking below here just to make sure that there are no leaks. Our gas tank, we just want to make sure that there are no leaks and no damage to the tank. So we're checking all our hoses, our harnesses, our tanks, and we want to make sure that everything is good. We talked about the GFCI plug that supplies power to the platform, and this is where you would plug your extension to make sure that you have power up there. This is an auxiliary pump. What it does is, in case of emergency, if you run out of gas, it will give you enough pressure to operate all the booms and rotate. It just will not allow you to drive. So I'm going to close this down. Make sure that when you close it, make sure that both latches are engaged. We check our final tire, making sure that all the lug nuts are in place and tightened, and the condition of the tire is good. We're checking the oscillating cylinder, and of course we're checking the tie rod. And over here we have our turret transportation lock, and we have to make sure that it's disengaged. We come over and we're checking the cylinder on this side, making sure there are no leaks. And also we're checking the pin and the locking pin for each. On this side, we have our limit switches. They basically limit the speed of the machine while it's elevated. We have 3 of these. There's one that operates the main boom, one that operates the fly boom, and one that operates the riser. So we're checking our wells. We're making sure that everything is good. Here we have boom wear pads, and these boom wear pads prevent the metal to metal contact of the booms so that they don't damage while they're in motion. Again, the primary thing you're looking at is you're looking for major dents, you're looking for any damage that could suggest that the operation of the machine can be compromised. We check our jacks and everything seems fine, back to the guardrails and our anchor points, and everything seems pretty good. So now we're ready to do our base function test. So this here is your base control console, and it allows you to operate each of the main functions of the machine from the base. You have 8 toggle switch, and of course you have your emergency stop, and of course your base on-off key switch, and you have your hour meter reading. This switch starts the engine, and flick this way, it powers up and gives hydraulic power to all of the other switches. This switch rotates the turret 360 degrees. This switch operates the main boom. It basically goes up and down in an arc. This switch operates the riser. That riser goes straight up and down, almost like a scissor lift. Now this operates the jib, and the jib is the last little boom at the end attached to the platform. This switch operates the platform, and it manually tilts the platform up or down. This switch operates the platform as well, but this time it rotates the platform. And this switch operates what is called the fly boom, or the extension, which extends about 12 feet. So this switch is your off base platform control switch. And in this position, it's off. In this position, it switches control to the base console. And in this position, it switches control to the platform control. The next thing we're going to look at is the emergency stop switch. And when this is on, right, and the emergency stop switch is out, it means that you have power to the machine. When it's down, then there's no power to the machine. When operating these functions, make sure that there's enough clearance so that the machine doesn't hit anything. When I was doing my inspection, the machine was in the stowed position, and that would not allow me to see some of the parts of the machine that I needed to inspect. And also that I can check the boom wear pads and the turret motor. I showed you base control. Now I'm going to show you platform controls. Always make sure that you're tied off once you get on the platform. Many of the switches on the platform control console are the exact same as the base control console, except for a couple of differences. And I'm going to show you what those are right now. Here on the right, we have the drive and steer control switch. What this does is you forward, reverse, steer left and right. Next, we have the main boom raise and lower, and we have the turret left or right. Next switch we have is the raise and lower of the riser boom. So over here we have the speed control switch. You see a turtle and a rabbit, obviously fast and slow. So here we have the torque control switch. On a hill we need more torque, we switch it here, and on the flat we need less torque, we switch it to there. So here we have the auxiliary motor switch. If we're out of gas, then it will give the hydraulics power enough to take you down in an emergency. Here we have the start emergency stop switch. Here we have the horn, and of course we have the on-off start switch. And lastly, we have the fuel switch, which this is dual fuel. So one side indicates propane and the other side petrol. Last but not least is your foot switch. Nothing here works without it, except the start switch, which it is required for your foot to be off the switch for this start switch to work. So now I have to test each and every one of these, making sure that they work. Before I do that, I have to make sure that I have clearance around me. First, I'm going to turn my emergency stop on. I test my horn. I start my machine. I have to test the foot switch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the machine back off. And then I'm going to put my foot on the foot switch and I'm going to try to start it. And it will not start. So what I do is I remove my foot from the foot switch and I start again. So now I'm going to proceed to test each and every one of these functions. Jib up, jib down. I'm going to go with my main boom up, main boom down. Rotate turret to the left, rotate turret to the right. Riser up, riser down. Always making sure that if you're going up, you look up. If you're going down, you look down, you look around, and you make sure that you're fully aware of what's going on. So now we're gonna do the extension, out, extension, in. Platform tilt, up, platform tilt, down. That works. Now, platform rotate, left, platform rotate, right. Okay. A special note on the rotating the platform. Always make sure that you're clear inside here. This platform can be a pinch point. So you got to make sure that nobody or nothing is around this area when you rotate your platform. So now we're going to do our drive function test. And for us to do our drive function test, we got to make sure that we get rid of all of our blind spot. That requires us to take the jib up so that the higher we go is the more we can see the front. With the drive function test, what I actually test is to see if this thing moves forward, and also by letting the controls go, it will actually check the brake as well. Driving forward, and it stops. So it does go forward, and the brake work, it does stop, right? In reverse, and it does work in reverse as well. This switch is such that it is a toggle switch. I can actually drive slowly or I can drive fast. I just checked the forward, I checked the reverse, and they work. The brake also works. There are 3 limit switches on this machine, 1 for the main boom, 1 for the riser, and 1 for the extension. I will check the main boom first, and for this limit switch to work, I have to bring the main boom up. So now it's going substantially slower than it normally goes. Okay? So that tells me that my limit switch for my main is working. So I shall now bring this down. And just to make sure it's back to where it was, I will check that the speed is back to where it was. And now it goes pretty fast. Okay? So now I'm gonna check the limit switch on the extension boom. So I'll bring the extension boom out just about a foot. Right? And I will now try to drive at full speed, and it will cut it down substantially. Okay? Substantially. Okay, so that one works. I'm gonna put the extension back in, and now I'm gonna retest to make sure that it's back to where it, and it's moving fast again. And that's good. So the next one I'm gonna check is the riser. And the riser is gonna take me up. And again, I have to go at about 10 feet to make sure that that one works. I'm gonna go up with my riser. And now I'm gonna try driving. And it has now reduced substantially the speed. So the speed is typically reduced to about 1/10 of the normal drive speed. So I've just checked all 3 limit switches and they do work. Limit switches are critical for the safe operation of the machine. Why? Because the machine cannot be allowed while elevated at 63 feet to move quickly. Otherwise, the momentum is going to throw the machine and it's going to make it tip. So what you've seen today is 1, the walk-around inspection, the physical inspection, the testing of the boom from the base control, and of course, testing from the platform control. So once you're convinced that all these things function and they're functioning safely, then we can proceed to start working. Remember, daily inspections are critical to the safe operation of this machine. So now let's get to work.